Have you ever wondered how the pain of the past can echo into the future, affecting generations yet unborn in the vast landscape of human history? There's a phenomenon known as intergenerational trauma or IGT. This is a type of psychological distress that can be passed down through generations, and it's especially prevalent among indigenous communities. In Canada, picture a ripple effect where the initial splash is a traumatic event lingering impact on subsequent generations. That's what IGT looks like a profound pain, a legacy of suffering. Colonization of indigenous lands, the forced assimilation, the loss of cultural identity, schools, all these have contributed to a cycle of trauma that persists even today. The indigenous communities can be traced back to darker chapter in the history. Colonized among actions was not just a history. Today, the roots of this trauma run deep, beginning with forced removal from ancestral lands. These lands were not just homes but also represented cultures of indigenous communities that were left and disconnected that trauma with the introduction of residential schools where indigenous children were forcibly separated from their families. These institutions were not just schools but tools of culture assimilation which sought to erase the indigenous identities and traditions. The enforced culture assimilations continued well into the 20th century, adding another layer of to the trauma. Indigenous culture, languages, and traditions were suppressed. These culture, languages, and were suppressed. That identity and continued the echoes of these traumatic events. These forms of social issues, knowing the problem is half the battle, one the other half is finding ways to heal and break the cycle of intergenerational trauma. To this end, various treatment theories and strategies are employed. Recognize the and respond to the effects to all type of the trauma. It emphasizes physical, psychological, and emotional safety both for both consumer and providers, creating opportunities for survivors. Our rational culture therapy, this type of therapy draws upon the cultures, providing a pathway for individuals and communities to reconnect with their roots and reclaim their identities. In addition to healing, addressing intergenerational belonging promote and empower individuals to be active participants in their healing journey. Breaking the cycle of intergenerational trauma is a collective effort, one that requires understanding, compassion, and a commitment to healing.